I believe. Share my screen. Here we go. All right. So, I was waiting for my doc camera to open up. Just a small reminder about yesterday. We had two texts that we were comparing. We had one inside our One Well book. And so on page 26, we wrote this information down. And Mrs. Oven, just so you know, underneath your computer are a bunch of copies I made of extras to help people who may have.
I gotta use a pen.
May have missed something. So on page 26, here we have, we read page 22 and 23 of One Well. It talked about population. Who remember, what does the word population actually mean? What does population mean, Elena? The amount of something, and in this case, it's going to be people, right? So population is the number of people. Good. And we talked about that the more people there are, the more demand there is for water. Remember the word demand or demands, meaning more than one, right? Is how and for what something is needed. So humans have a demand for water. And we know that the demand is increasing, but is the water increasing? No. So we have more demands, but we have no more water than we ever have had. And we're not going to be able to get more water than we already have. So there's a finite amount. So in this case, when the demand goes up, usually, sometimes if there's a demand, like a demand for breakfasts, then Mrs. Ovid and I can call the office and see if there are any more, right? And so we can fill that demand. But in this case, we found out even though there's more and more people using more water than they have before, and also just more people needing that water, we only still have a certain amount. So that was what we read about in the first section. And then our second one, let me see who, Mr. Ethan. All right. So then we read another short little bit, didn't we, in our workbook. And that came from the USGS. And so it told us that it was another article that just reminded us. So this is your page 29. So you did page 29 and yesterday. And when we said there's more people, when the more people move into an area, it puts more stress on that water supply, right, Ms. Elena? Because we have more buildings and more roads and more shopping centers because people need more grocery stores and then they need more gas stations and then do you get the point? Yeah, we're constantly needing more because more people means, if you even have more kids, you need more playgrounds and more schools, right? And of course you need those things if you have more people. But by having those, we have less space for our natural water flow. So those are the two articles that we read. And so this is where we stopped yesterday. We were talking about, and so my friends, Mrs. Oven talked to her class a little bit after their pictures, and I stayed on and we talked about this. So I would like you to open to page 30 in your workbook. Page 30 for me, friends. And I just pre-did this for us because, well, frankly, we just need to get her done. And so I'm going to make it a little bigger. But I need you to, and I tried to make them fairly short. Even the red ones, I made them even shorter, but than they would like. So our first idea, so this is comparing and contrasting. When you compare two things, you find out how they are similar or the same. When you contrast two things, you find out how they are different. So on the test tomorrow, you are going to compare and contrast. You're going to have to do this exact same thing tomorrow on your own. All right. You are going to have today's article and you're going to have tomorrow's article. Today's article we'll read today and we'll do the main ideas and the details, right? Supporting details. But you are going to have to read something on your own tomorrow. And you're going to say, hey, what's the same about today's article, which is tomorrow, and the one we're doing today? You're going to have to say, what's the same and what is different? And you're going to need two of each. Two have the same, so just like this one. All right? So I'm giving you some ideas about tomorrow. So our first thing was both main ideas are about how the population is growing and demanding more water. Our second thing was about for more people, you have to build more buildings, right? More things. Then there are two differences as well. So I put them in red just so you know that they were different than the similarities, but hopefully you can see them just as well. All right. So our differences for the two articles, well, was one much smaller? Yes, one was really small, but is that really a difference about what the text is about? No. So I'm going to give you a hint. Don't use that as a difference. Like, oh, well, that one was long and one was short. That may be true, but is that really about what, what the articles were about? No. So you don't want to do that. So the second main idea, which I just showed you right here on this paper when we did on page 26. There's our second idea. So there was one main idea, and then here's the second main idea. So in one well on page 22, 23, the second main idea about people using more water now than they used to, that was not mentioned in the second text. They did talk about how much more we needed. Hey, Miss Bird, this is a good thing to copy down if you don't already have it. So if you don't have some information, because Mrs. Aubin did some with your class, yes, but they don't. So that's why I'm giving it to. I'm giving you some information. So if you don't have it, you can get it down. So a difference was they both talked about demand being greater because of more people, but the second one didn't mention. Logan, are you writing these down? But the second one didn't mention the fact that yes, there are more people, but now people are even using more water every time. So that's a little bit of a difference that we have there. The second difference I could find between the two articles is the amount of water used today compared to the past was not discussed in the other text, was not discussed in the one from yesterday. So this one goes with this one, but it says it doesn't show the amount. We know that the first article told us that we used to use 1 gallon. Remember, we used to carry that. Miss Madison, do you need to come forward or are you good? No, I can't not much really, because I mean a little bit. Is that okay? Okay. So the second text didn't really talk about, hey, Mr. Finn, we are on page 30 of your workbook, my friend. So glad to see you. I was missing you. So that we talked about one in the old days, 100 years ago, the average person used about 1 gallon. And now we've got more use, about 6 gallons per day. And we talked about why that would be, right? Because more things are being produced. We have we have washing machines and we have hot tubs and we have showers and we have all kinds of electronic, fun dishwashers and things that use that water, right? Even when we brush our teeth, now we have water picks and all kinds, there's different apparatuses that weren't even invented 100 years ago, right? Mr. August, are you getting these things written down? So those are some differences. So tomorrow, so a little bit later today, we're going to read a new article about a new thing about water. I know you're surprised. And then tomorrow, you're going to read your own article, like we have been, the second article, and it's going to ask you to name at least 2 similarities, how the articles are alike, and how the articles are different. So how many things should you write in that section? 2 things that are similar and 2 things that are different. How many things will you need to write, Cooper? 4, right? 2 in each section. So they don't give you a whole page like this. And did you notice that I even used what page number I'm referring to? Do you think that might be helpful when you're using your one well book tomorrow? You could reference what page number it'll be that we are going to read today, you could add that into your sentence so that when Mrs. Aubin and I are reading your answers, we fully understand where you got that information. All right. Okay. I'm going to give a little bit more time. You can use your own words. You don't have to, because tomorrow there won't be any words to copy, right? It'll just be your own words. So it'd be a good idea if you just think about what that sentence says, get your own idea, because tomorrow you'll need your own idea anyway. All right. Okay. So I know I'm rushing you, but I'm gonna ask you to go ahead and finish that one that you're on. And if you are super, you won't use this page tomorrow in particular, this page 30. You, however, can use page 30 to help you with the test. If you want to use it as a reference and go, hey, yeah, what did we do yesterday for similarities and differences? You can use this page to help you understand how to do it tomorrow. Mrs. Aubin does have some of these that I copied off. So if there are some of my friends that super need this, you could. I see some that are not finished, but I got to move on. So there's going to be a coup in a minute, probably. All right. Here we go. I'm going to give one more. I'll give you one more minute. And then we're going to move on to page 27, which I know is, we've already partially done page 27, but we only did it with one text, didn't we? So now we're going to need to do it with our second text. So on page 27, I didn't have a whole lot more room either. And that was, I know what happened to you guys the last time we tried to fit in more on page 27. But I'm going to move on back to page 27, which looks like this. And I know you're going to be mad at me. I'm sorry, but I got to move on. No. I know. So Mrs. Harrison also added in here in red. So yesterday's work, our source, let's start at the bottom. That's always fun to start in a new spot. Instead of starting at the top, let's start at the bottom. So one of our sources yesterday is population growth. That was what we got it from the USGS website. So if we were real authors, we would write down the whole website. But I know that that is not good use of your time. But if you were to do, if you were doing some sort of really important report for school when you're in middle school, and you could ask some of my friends that have siblings, like I know Haley's, has a sibling in middle school, and so does Abby. And so when you have a real important report that you have to do, and you have to cite your sources, if you use a website, you have to cite that website. But it's not good use of our time to write the whole thing, so I just wrote website. So let's get that in there. It's our other source. And you're going to need this again, I promise. So get down. All right. So our source yesterday, when we read our article, it was pretty short. So we don't have a whole lot to add to our note catcher, but we do have a little bit. I'm going to try, a little too far there. All right. So our issue, remember, issue is our problem. What is the thing that is concerning us? And so the one we already had there was the population is getting bigger, so people are using more water than they used to. That sounds reasonable. And then we added, this is what you need to add, because this is really what the second text added. As more people move in, more support facilities are built. So I could have said buildings instead of support facilities. But roads are also built, right? And they're not necessarily buildings. So I said support facilities, but if you want to write like building here instead, because you're running a room, so then we're adding this in on our first box on page 27. I'm going to make it a little bigger.
Give us more time.
I know. I'm rushing. Yeah. That's why I said, I hope you are ready to work today. But the good news is Mrs. Harrison preloaded all of it. So if you're done, then you can move on to the second one, the second box. So we talked about the issue is obviously that now we have more buildings. That gives us less space for the water, right? So how does this affect people? How does having more things, more roads built and more buildings and more playgrounds and more schools and more shopping centers, how does that affect us? Well, the more buildings we have, the more stress that it puts on our water to supply everybody with water.
What's after
As more people move in, more support facilities are built. Then this one says stress is put on the water to supply everyone with water. So again, we only have a finite amount, right? So if you could get those red sections filled in, that would be super awesome. And what do you think this information is going to be used in the future? What are we going to do, Sunny? If we write a note catcher, why is there important to get all this information down? When we go to write, we're going to have those facts already written for us, right? Organized for us. Very good. So that is, my friends, I know there's a lot. Miss Abby, are you getting some of these down for me? Yep. You should be writing this down. Okay, awesome. Which one? This one or this one? The first one. As more people move in, more support facilities are built. But you can just put buildings. I just put support facilities because that makes that like that's like a word for everything. Instead of doing shopping centers, buildings, houses, roads, but you can shorten it. All kinds of, yeah. All kinds of things, right? More people move in, then they get more churches, you get more stores to buy, groceries, you get more places, like you said, yeah, for animals, like an animal shelter, you're right. All of those things get increased. All right. Oh, I see hard workers online. Good job. I'm keeping an eye on you. You guys seem to be really focused. Thank you. Ben, you doing okay?
Yeah, it's just I wasn't here yesterday and this is complicated.
Okay, so so tomorrow I will include on our assignment a little bit some of the, if you need anything for tomorrow, I will make sure that it's included on the assignment. So no worries if you don't get it up. This stuff today is, I haven't gotten to mostly of the stuff you're gonna need tomorrow yet, so. But thank you for telling me. That's a good reminder for me. All right, you guys are doing awesome.
Miss Harrison.
All right, I'm looking for who's chatting with me. Let's see who I need. Miss Ellie, yes?
I can't see the bottom.
The bottom? Yeah, I know. When I make it big enough to see, it's hard to get everything in there. Let's see. How about there? How's that? Does that work?
Yeah.
All right, awesome. All right, so give me a 0 if you're good and you're ready to move on. A 1 if you just need a little bit more time. A 5 if you're, oh my goodness, lady. All right, gotta move on soon. So, okay, all right, Miss Madison, keep going, babe. All right. Does it help if we do? It really helps when you keep when we keep up, right? If you're one of those friends that was behind from one of the other days, it's probably a little bit stressful, and I'm sorry because you have more to write than the rest of us, huh? All right. Okay. So if you are done, that is awesome, and I will ask you to find in your One Well book, page 24 and 25. That is where we are going to be today. How are we doing? Good, pretty good. All right. 24 and 25 is our new, now you're going to want to listen super well because you have to use this text tomorrow. All right, so make sure you have 24 and 25. Listening super careful. We're going to do all this together. I'm supporting you today, but tomorrow I'm asking you to work independently. So if you have any questions today, this is a great day to ask, okay? Because I want to be helpful, but add 24 and 25. Who can tell me on page 24, I'm stalling a tiny bit for my friends who aren't finished, but I am going to have to move on in a minute. Page 24 and 25, what's it called, Lucas? Ooh, read that again. Read that one more time. 24, 25. It does start with a P, but it's not population. Pollution. Very good. Pollution in the well. What do you know about pollution? What, before we start reading, what's your schema about pollution already? Cole, what do you already know? Okay, say that one more time. I'm sorry. Things that shouldn't be in nature, right? Things that, okay, I like that. Robert, what would you add? Okay, so things that definitely shouldn't be there, right? And the animals shouldn't eat, and the like trash, definitely. Sunny, what else do you know? Okay, so Sunny said that pollution is the smoke that comes from the factories that make things. Excellent. Yeah, you bet. Okay, perfect. I will definitely do that. Lila.
I know my thing about pollution is that like it's black and yucky and it makes not fresh air, and when it gets into water it makes the water not healthy.
Okay, so now, so Lila added that it's often in the air and we can see it. It looks like smoke. Sometimes it's really ugly. It looks black and we can see. So I've heard pollution can be in the water. I heard pollution can be on the land. I heard it can be in the air, right? Abby, what else do you think?
Pollution in the water is like once on the show I saw that there's like a bunch of trash in the ocean, like polluting and then also hurting the animals.
Okay, so again, some trash that then, and it's affecting those living things that live there, right? So if we're talking about animals a lot, but so Jensen, have you ever heard of some animals being hurt in some way by some sort of pollution? Does that sound like something that you've ever heard of?
People eating meat.
Okay. People eating meat? Okay, so the cows cause pollution from what we are going to eat. Okay, all right. Okay, so this is my official definition that you'll see that we're going to use, but you don't have to write it down anywhere for right now. But pollution is the presence in the environment of a poisonous or harmful substance. So when we say poisonous, it could actually be a chemical that could hurt you if you touch it or if you eat it in some way or the animals eat it. It also could just be something harmful. It's not, and again, it can be in the air, it can be in the water, it can be also on the land. So that's giving you just a little tiny bit of schema before we start reading on page 24. So everybody at this point should be reading, should have their book out to page 24. And we are pollution in the well. So your eyes should not be on the screen. They are going to be on your text, right? All right. Oh, my. All right. So pollution in the well. I'm looking for Mr. Robert. You got your eyes there, bud? We're going to start right here. All right. The water cycle helps keep Earth's water clean. As water evaporates, minerals, chemicals, and dirt are left behind. The water vapor that rises into the atmosphere is relatively clean. When rain falls back to Earth, some of it is filtered through rocks and sand and is further cleaned. Even plants play a role. As water travels through them, plants remove chemicals in the water. Then they transpire clean water back into the air. That's one of the words we're going to definitely look up in a minute. Thank you. Yep, we're going to look at transpire in a minute. So, because that's probably a new word for some of you. All right, so let's just get the gist of that paragraph first. All right, so the water cycle actually helps clean the water. And so we know, so if we're talking about pollution, is it good that the earth can clean some of it on its own? Definitely. So as the water evaporates, minerals, chemicals, and dirt are left behind. That's kind of nice. So because if the water got dirty, say, like a big puddle out in the back, right? Got some dirty water and we don't want that dirt in that water system anymore. When it evaporates to rain down again, some of that is left behind. When the rain falls back to earth, some of it is filtered through rocks and sand and is further cleaned. Well, all of us that have wells and get our water from wells know that our water is fresh by the time we get it. But again, it comes from that snow melt and that rain, which may have not been clean when it went out in our yards, but by the time it filters down to our well, it's safe for us to drink. Actually, Max just left. You'll have to wait until he's back. So and even plants play a role. The water travels through them. Plants remove chemicals in the water. Then they transpire clean water back into the air. So those plants take in that water and they end up cleaning it up through their system. And we'll talk about what transpire in a minute. But more and more waste from industry, agriculture, and homes. I have a couple people who aren't looking at their book. Your eyeballs should be on the text. I'm in the second paragraph. If you're watching the screen or if you're watching me, it's the wrong place to be. Because you're only going to have the text tomorrow. You're not going to be able to read it on my forehead. All right. But more and more waste from industry, agriculture, and homes is getting into the water. Runoff from backyards, city streets, farms, dumps dirt and chemicals such as pesticides, fertilizers, and detergents into lakes, rivers, streams, and ponds. Pollution in the atmosphere from cars and factories mixes with the water vapor in the air. The rain that falls pollutes surface water and groundwater. Our actions may be overloading water's natural ability to clean itself. So we have all of these things that are going on naturally, but if humans are adding more and more and more pollution into that system, the system can't work complete as well. It can't completely clean everything. We're on the third paragraph. As more water becomes polluted, there's less clean water available. Nearly 80% of all sicknesses in the world are caused by unsafe water. Isn't that interesting? Because we are talking about people being sick from all kinds of different things, right? But nearly 80% of all sicknesses in the whole world are caused by unsafe water. And wildlife suffers too. That's what you guys were focusing on, right? The animals. Water pollution threatens the health of many species and habitats across the planet. Uh-oh, did I just cross into science? We've been talking about animal habitats, right? And being able to live in a habitat and getting the animals and the species needs from that habitat. But what if that habitat changes? We talked about that yesterday, right? Can your animal just move into a different habitat? Not necessarily, depended on the habitat, right? Some of them could move, some of them couldn't. If humans are polluting their habitats, is that going to affect the possible animals? Yes. Last paragraph here, and then we'll go on to the little bits. Because of water's self-cleaning powers, the effects of pollution can be stopped. Woo, that's a good thing. And quite possibly reversed. But to do so, we need to reduce the amount of pollution that goes into the water. All right, let's read this one here at the top. Water dissolves more things than any other liquid. So in nature, water is never really pure. It almost always has something dissolved in it, even if it's minerals. We talked about how salt dissolves in water and that water picks up salt on its way to the ocean, right? And then by the time it gets to the ocean, it drops that salt when it evaporates. So even if water seems like it's entirely pure, unless you distill it, then or have reverse osmosis, most likely it's got something in it, minerals or salts or something. Every day, 1.8 million tons or 2 million tons in United States measurement of garbage are dumped into the Earth's water. Enough to fill more than 15,000 boxcars. Did you see that part at the beginning? It said every day. 2 million tons of garbage are dumped into the Earth's water. Wow, Lyric, how do you feel about that? Is that a lot of garbage, Miss Lyric? What do you feel about that? How does that make you feel? Does it make you feel sad to hear all that? It's a lot of garbage for sure. All right, on the blue section here, wetlands are nation's water treatment plants. They absorb chemicals and filter out pollution and waste. So wetlands are areas where there is a lot of like water, sort of maybe a swampy sort of situation, or a place where there's ponds and lots of plants. And we just learned how plants are really helpful to clean. So an area that has a wetland is definitely going to help clean out that pollution. Last little section here. When pollution in the air mixes with rain, it can also turn into acid rain or even acid snow. This acid precipitation can fall thousands of kilometers or miles from the source of the pollution, even reaching remote areas such as the Arctic. So we talked about a little bit about the water cycle in that those clouds travel pretty far, don't they? They pick up that water over the ocean, the evaporation over the ocean. So that snow that we got this morning really came from, that precipitation came from far away. All of that moisture came from far away. And a good example of this is in that snowstorm that we had last week. You may have noticed that there was if you chopped into it, that you could see layers. And in those layers, there was actually a layer of Mexican dust. Part of where this storm came from picked up some, there was some dust disturbance in Mexico, and that dust ended up in the atmosphere and in the clouds. And when when it traveled and then it snowed, we ended up with some snow. And so if you haven't looked, if you still have enough snow where you can just like take a chunk off and look, at my house, I definitely found it. There was a little definite layer where you could see where it just looked a different color than the rest of the snow. And that was dust all the way from Mexico. So it traveled through the air. Now, that was just dust. That's not harmful, right? Just some dust. However, the air full of pollution can travel also and precipitate some of that pollution in rain somewhere else and snow somewhere else, and even all the way to the Arctic. That's pretty far. All right. So we have some words that we're not sure about, probably. So if you look at page 31, there were some glossary words that I would like to go over. I came up with some pretty short definitions. So Mr. Robert, we're looking for page 31. 31 in our workbook. We're going to go through them pretty quickly. You can put these in your own words. They do not have to be Mrs. Harrison's definitions, but I just pre-did them, so we're ready. So the first word is evaporates. Who can tell me really what evaporates? Page 31. Page 31. Miss Madison, what does that mean usually? When something evaporates like a puddle?
Like, I think it means, sucking up.
Say that again.
Like sucking up.
Sucking up? Not quite. But something's gone. You're right. The moisture is gone for sure. Where does that moisture go? Nothing's actually sucking it up, but the moisture does go away. Instead of being in the puddle, it goes where? Into the air. Very good. So evaporate means to when it turns from a liquid to a vapor. And a vapor is just a fancy word for another word for gas or the moisture in the air. Miss Cernay, how you doing? Getting this down on page 31? Thank you. All right. Okay. Thank you. All right. So evaporates. It's good to know what these words are for tomorrow when you're writing, especially when you're going to be answering some questions about it. The next word is vapor. What is vapor? We just talked about if evaporation is from the liquid turns into a vapor. What is vapor then, Noah?
Like a fancy word for gas.
Yeah, just a fancy word for gas. It's the moisture in the air. In this case, we're talking about vapor being, like we talked about at the beginning of the year, that something is humid and you can feel the moisture. How's it going? Are you getting these, August? Getting them down? Okay, so you could say, and you could use that word if you wanted to, gas. You could put that there for sure. The next word is atmosphere. What is the atmosphere, Logan?
The atmosphere is what it's gases surrounding the earth that keeps the oxygen in our earth.
Okay, it's the gas surrounding the earth. Yes, and there's different layers of our atmosphere, and it does keep us, it keeps that oxygen from floating out into the outer space and being able to be productive for us, isn't it?
And summer, me and my mom did science experiments.
You did all right, Logan did a science experiment with it. All right, very good. Lots of good schema for that then, right? Awesome. So can we see those gases generally? No. Do we see our oxygen we're breathing in? No. Or the carbon dioxide? Also, no. So there are lots of things in the air that are good for us and things that are not good for us. And a lot of them are invisible and we can't really see them. All right, hey, ladies, are you ready? Are you good for the next one? Here we go. Miss Evie, did you get these down? Because I see that they're lacking on your paper there. All right, next one is on page 32. On page 32, so if you've got those three, you can flip over the next one. All right, the next one is filtered. They said the water was filtered by the ground and by rocks and sand. What does it mean to filter something? Next time, what does it mean to filter something? Okay, you're taking something out, right? That you don't necessarily want, right? So this is my fancy definition, but you can definitely make it shorter. But it is pass through something to remove unwanted material. I have a coffee filter in my my coffee maker. It lets the water through with the coffee taste, but it doesn't let the coffee grounds through, right? It filters the water so that only some of it gets through. So when the water goes into the ground, there's rocks and sand and also dirt, right? And that water does go through it. And even though water goes through dirt, it actually can come out the other side cleaner than it went into the ground. Now, I know that seems weird. You're like, but it should just be muddy, right? But all of those little bits filter it out. So if you think about it, if you have a well at your house, which many of us do, right? A lot of us have wells. Then when we turn on our faucet, we're getting well water, and that water has been filtered by the earth. Now, your house may also have another kind of filter in it that also might filter that water so that it's more pure. Yes, Lila.
So my dad just replaced their filter in our fridge so that we can get more clean water.
There you go. You might have a filter in your refrigerator for that might filter that water. You're right. There's actually there's air filters in your car. The air filter keeps all the dust and things outside your car from coming inside your car, unless your windows roll down, right? I mean, I can't help in that case, but it makes sure that the air that's going into the engine doesn't fill with bits. All right, I'm going to move on to the next one. Here's that word I said we definitely need to know. Transpire. That's one that a lot of us maybe have not heard yet. That just means to give off water vapor. The plant transpires. So we often think of, we think of plants as being kind of beings. We know that they give off oxygen, and we know that some of us might know that they also take in the carbon dioxide, but they also give off water in that process as well. So the roots from the plant take in the water, right? Because plants take in the water, they get their water from the ground, through their roots. And some of that water is like it, so transpire is kind of like exhale. When you guys inhale, right, the air goes in and the air goes, and you exhale, right? So obviously plants aren't breathing, right? Plants aren't breathing by any means, but they are taking in the water, and they do leave, and some of that water escapes through the plant's leaves, and it gives off water vapor. And the plant, if it does that, if it takes the water in and it's dirty, is it releasing that water dirty again? No, the dirt stays in the plant, so the pollution stays in the plant. So the plant is acting like a filter, isn't it? The plant is being a filter. And our last word is runoff. So it said the runoff from our backyards have detergents and fertilizer. Hey, Mr. Finn, doesn't look like you're getting these words down, sweetie. Okay, well, they just gave a new one. I don't know that you had a chance, because we're actually on a different page now. We're on page 32. We finished page 31 and now we're on page 32. So runoff, so think about how many of you sometimes wash your car with your hose? Like with a hose? Any of us? No, all right. So some of us do. Do you sometimes soap it up and then wash it off? Okay, sometimes, or just maybe spray just plain water on it. Okay, that dirt that's coming from, or on or that mag chloride, or that whatever it is that might come from the road that's on our car, when we wash it off, it's no longer on our car, but where does that end up?
On the road.
On our, well, not necessarily on our road, but in our, wherever we wash the car, right? In our driveway or wherever, right?
And that water dries and then goes up into clouds.
And then that evaporates. Okay, gotcha.
My dad
Okay.
and then like sprays it off onto our road.
Yeah. So sometimes we have, if you live in the city, sometimes people might have some cleaning materials that they have outside, or some fertilizer that they use on their plants in their yard. Those are, again, they're great for the plant. They're great for certain things, but sometimes that we find out, and we'll actually talk a little bit more about if we have detergent that's meant to clean things, how that is not so great if it's in the soil. Fertilizer, we like fertilizer to help us grow our plants, but it's not good for animals. So there are a lot of things that humans use that end up in the runoff. The water drains away afterwards. Oh, I just let her in, actually. Oh gosh, she must be unstable internet. All right. Whoo, did we just get a lot of information? But now we have a lot of schema now, though, right? That's going to be coming handy. A lot of schema. I'm going to give, and you guys don't have to say this you can say these in your own words too, right? All right. So we're going to move now. Yep. to looking at, so tomorrow we know that some of what we've been working on are the different parts of speech, right? Nouns, pronouns, adjectives, adverbs, verbs. So we're going to look at one of the sentences that came from today's work, and we're going to pretend. So ladies, I'm just going to have. Hopefully, you can copy off somebody else here in a minute, but I'm going to go ahead and come over to my thing here real quick. I want to make sure that when you get to this part of the test tomorrow, when it asks you what the function is. So I know that Mrs. Aubin's Allblock has had a lot of practice of this, but Mrs. Harrison's OG group hasn't had as much practice. So my OG friends, I super need you to pay attention, okay? Because we haven't had enough, quite as much time on this. All right, so this sentence was one of those sentences that should have been like, whoa, to you in this last part. Remember how I always ask, what surprised you? This sentence I know surprised Mrs. Aubin. Whoa. All right. So nearly 80% of all sicknesses in the world are caused by unsafe water. Okay. So there's that whoa. So I want you to look at, so I'm going to go quickly here. So let's remember what different parts of speech we have, right? What does a noun do? A noun names a person, place, thing, or idea, right? That's its job, okay? We're going to find a noun in a minute, and then we're going to ask, what's its job? What's its function? Pronoun is a word that's used to replace another noun. I'm not going to ask you any pronouns right now. Verb. A verb is a word that describes an action or a state of being. I'm going to ask you about a verb in a minute. A verb is an action, right? Action, action, action. Adjective is a word that describes a noun or a pronoun. So what's its job? It describes, okay? And it's going to describe a certain noun. We're going to tell what that noun is it's describing. Adverb is a word that describes that action word, that verb, or it could also describe another adjective, or it could describe another adverb. So those are our job. Those are the jobs of the different types of words. So let's look at this sentence again. All right. Nearly 80% of all the sicknesses in the world are caused by unsafe water. So first look at that yellow word, nearly. Who thinks that you know what part of speech first you think nearly is? What part of speech is that? Do you think, Robert? You look like you were sure and then you looked unsure. Should I give you those choices again? Nearly. You know what it means? So that's good, because we're going to ask that question in a second, right? What does it mean? Sernay, what can you help him out? Okay, so we need is it a noun, a pronoun, a verb, an adjective, or an adverb? I'll give you a hint. Look at the endings of these ones here. They all end in ly. So if that's a kind of a hint. So what do you think it might be, Noah? It is an adverb. Was that what you were going to say? Is everybody got their hand up? Adverb? Yes. Good job. Adverb. So that's great. We know it's an adverb. Yay! Adverbs describe verbs, adjectives, or adverbs. But what's its job in this case? So you are going to see a question that looks a lot like this on the test. What is the function of the word nearly? So function means job. What's its job? What is its purpose? So but it's asking what nearly is describing. So we know that an adverb describes. So what is nearly describing? Josh Carter. Yes, yay! It's saying nearly 80%. Is it entirely 80%? No, it's close to. It's near 80%. So if I was taking the test It says, what is the function of nearly? I would write nearly is describing 80% and how it is almost that amount. So I added a little extra in there to make it specific. Okay. So what is nearly's job? Nearly's job is to describe, but what is it describing? 80%. Good job. Mrs. Aubin, we may be successful. We'll see. All right. So next is the world. Mrs. Harrison has to use her lips. Sorry. World. What type of word? What part of speech is the word world? I give up. Cooper. It is a noun. Ellie, was that what you were going to say? Were you going to say noun? Yes, very good. A noun. A noun is a person, place, or thing. Uh-oh. Or an idea. What is world, though? What is its job? What? Because remember, our question is, what is the function of the word world? So we know it's a noun, but that's not enough of an answer. What do you think, Lennox? So that's its meaning. You're right. It's like a globe, right? The world. It's like a globe. But think of that noun as a person, place, or thing, or idea. What is it doing in this case? What's the word world doing, Haley? Okay, no worries. Logan, give it a shot. Nope, world is not describing. It's a. Nearly 80% of the world of sicknesses in the world. Yep, we're asking what world means. Yeah, the first couple words describe world. Right, but we are wondering what world is doing. Give it to me, Gavin. Give it to me. I know it's hard. It's hard, isn't it, Logan? It's hard to know how to say it. But Gavin, give it to us.
World means like a place.
Yes! Yay! It's
like
exactly
inside of a
very good. Okay, so world is naming the place, right? It's naming the place. Good job, Mr. Gavin, you got it. World is naming the place where this is happening, right? Where the sicknesses are happening. So I could even add that as an extra. World is naming the place where the sicknesses are happening. All right. Are you with me? Are we with me? Are we going to do this tomorrow? All right. So the next one, are caused. Are caused. What kind of function? What part of speech is are caused? I'll put them up again so you can see them. Oh, I love how my friends at home are like, I can see their brains thinking. Gavin's got his hand up again. He's on fire. All right, Gavin, give it to me. What part of speech do you think it is? Are caused. What do you think, Gavin?
a verb.
Yes, it's the verb. You're making Mrs. Aubin and I very happy, Mr. Gavin, today. All right, so that's great. It's a verb, but what does a verb do? What does a verb do, Haley? It is an action word. So what is our cause telling us? What is our cause job? Madison.
The cause is unsafe water.
Okay, so you're the unsafe water. So it's what the unsafe water is doing, right? It's what the unsafe water is doing. So I could say our cause is telling the action, right? Get that word action in there, that the unsafe water is doing. Woo! Oh, I got an exclamation there because I was excited. Oh, is there? Oh, yes, there is. Thank you for doing my editing for me. Awesome job. All right, last one. Unsafe. Which kind of word is unsafe?
It's like not safe. Not
That's
safe.
what it.
Like,
You're right. That's what it
like
means.
unsafe water is not safe to drink, or else you might get sick or whatever. Okay, bye.
That is right, Mr. Ethan. You broke it into its word parts. Very good. Unsafe. So the un means not safe. It's obviously not safe to drink. Good job. Ellie, what do you think? What part of speech do you think it is?
I think it's an adjective.
Yay! It is an adjective. And what do adjectives do? They describe. So, what is unsafe doing? What's its function? What's its job, Serne? It's describing the water, right? Very good. So, unsafe is describing water. All right. How do we feel about this? Do you see how my answer tells what that word is doing in that sentence? It's not just describing, it's describing water. It's not just telling an action, it's telling what the unsafe water is doing. It's not just describing something nearly, it's describing 80%. How are we feeling about that, Mr. Cole? You got a 4? All right. All right. Very nice job. All right. I need to get one more thing done, my friends. On page, we're going to hustle through this. You guys are doing so amazing. I need you to be on page 33 because you're going to need this tomorrow. So I need your super brains. Stick with me just a little longer. I'm going to put my dock camera up. You guys are doing so good. Mrs. Oven, thank you for keeping them on task. Somebody's talking to me. I'm not sure who is. I want to make sure whoever's talking to me, I hear. All right. Is everybody on page 33? All right. So can we agree that this page, that these two pages were on what? Pollution, right? Our heading is called pollution in the well, right? So what is it about? Pollution. Water is so there's two here. Or actually, no, there's one. Sorry, there's just one. Water is becoming more polluted. So there is less clean water available. You should be writing that, right? If the water, is there any extra water? We're going to get there. We got this. Don't look at me like that, Mrs. Oven. Hey, we should all be amazed how much I got through today, right? I was like super crazy lady. All right. So water, the more, are you getting this down, Finn? Because you're going to need it for tomorrow. You need this page for tomorrow. Well, you start at the top. Start at the top. So we're writing the main idea first. Oh, I know. They only have one. I know. I don't understand why the second column is there, my friend. I really don't. Yeah, just ignore the 2. Because occasionally they have 2 main ideas, but this one we're just going to focus on 1. All right, so as water is becoming more polluted, there's less clean water, right? Are we getting extra water from anywhere? No, it's all the same. So if more is polluted, then less is clean. That makes sense, right? If more gets, as more over time, more gets polluted, then that other amount here is going to get smaller and smaller. All right. So you can grab that text. See if I actually already wrote some facts, but I want to see if you guys can find mine. So what in the text on page 24 and 25 is a supporting detail? Who can find a supporting detail that backs up our idea? Logan. Say that one more time, sweetie. Oh, you closed the book. Got it. I like the right, exactly. It's the I did that on purpose, didn't I? Pick that sentence. Nearly 80% of our sicknesses are caused by unclean water. Is that a problem? Yes.
Yes.
Definitely. And it's becoming as more polluted, then people are getting more and more sick. Cool. What else did you find?
Nearly 1.8 million tons, 2.8 million tons of garbage are dumped into the ocean water.
Exactly. Wow. What do you think, Elena? Does that show how pollution, if there's garbage getting dumped in our water? That's definitely going to talk about pollution, isn't it? Okay, so that's mine. Hey, look, there it was, Mr. I found it right there, Mr. Cole. All right. Unfortunately, you did not think of them in the order that I wrote them. Pollution from the air causes acid rain. Is that a problem? Also a problem. And you guys can do this in your own words too. The last one, more people cause more trash, right? More people cause more waste. We already talked about, right? More people in a house causes more toilet flushing to happen, right? Just because more people, right? Is that more waste going back into our system? Yes. If we just washing clothes, a family with more people has to wash more clothes. Dixon, you have to get this all down, because even though you're not taking the test tomorrow, you are taking it when we get back from spring break. So you need this information. All right. Okay. You guys did amazing today. I know you're not done, but I wanted to say, because my job has got to get you there. So I feel good. All right. So I want to tell you, tomorrow, I'm exhausted. So tomorrow, you're going to need to remember what we talked about today to help you. You will also have the text. You will have your one well book. You will also have a new text that you will read. You're going to read the new text. You're going to have this text, tomorrow's text, and you're going to use all your huge brains to answer some questions and to come up with some similarities and differences between those two texts. Whew. I'm good at literally one more minute. That's all you get. So I will, but you know what I'm going to do? So for my friends who definitely who are online, if I will definitely make a copy of this, and I will have it on tomorrow's assignment for those of you who are remote. All right, so Astria, if you don't get it all down, I'm gonna have a copy of it on there, okay? Jensen, I will make a copy. This will be attached to tomorrow's assignment, okay? So if you don't get it all down. Mr. Gavin, is that okay? It'll be on the assignment tomorrow if you don't get it all done. All right, my friends, you did an amazing job. I'm exhausted. Hey, science today at 12:45. One more science at 12:45. So everybody come to Mrs. Aubin's link, okay? Ellie, Abby, and Astria, come to Mrs. Aubin's link at 12:45. All right, guys. I'll do science.